So, Don't Life was an episode that has set Jujutsu Kaisen up to go to the next level in the coming weeks. We've got setups for multiple fights between characters, quite a few of which happened in this episode and paid off here. But we've got even more setup and a few that have been teased on the very far horizon. So buckle up because we're going to be getting into some interesting details in this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen. But before we begin, please be sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video so I can keep bringing you more anime content. So this really kicks off with Mei Mei finishing up her fight with the random curse user from last week, and honestly, it's kind of cool just seeing Jujutsu sorcerers flex in any capacity, which actually happened a couple times in this episode. But in general, Mei Mei is such a cool character, and even though we don't actually see the fight in this particular instance, just knowing she managed to beat a rando with a battle axe is still kind of cool. We also get our brief teaser setups here for how she's necessarily going to end up fighting the smallpox curse. Not next week. We know next week is actually going to be more about the fight between two other characters, but the week after we'll get more of her fight with that particular curse spirit, which, for manga readers, as you know, is actually very cool. Hey you. Yes, you. That's right, the one watching this video. According to my statistics, a lot of people start dropping off about this point in the video. So if you're going to go ahead and leave this video, why don't you go ahead and check out my One Piece video that I just did. We're trying to branch out on some more shows and mangas on this channel, and I'd love to get your support on it. Alright, back to this episode. Of course, if we're being really honest here, the other major fight that we need to talk about is, of course, Nobara and then later Nanami versus Haruta Shigemo. Now, the interesting thing about this is that it's really the same fight, even though it features two different sorcerers, which usually in this series would constitute two different fights. But Nobara's fight with Haruta is a bit interesting because he's really a terrible matchup for her. And I mean, all of the first years, despite how strong they've gotten, are still fairly young as sorcerers, and while they've progressed really quickly, I think this is a good reminder to the audience that they may have gotten stronger, but they're not going to pair very well against everyone. But he especially has a technique that, as it will be revealed in the coming weeks, is really bad for pairing with Nobara's ability. Because Nobara is not really consistent damage dealing. She usually wears down an enemy and then does everything as like a all or nothing final attack. And his ability, which does have to do with those marks on his face, if you notice that they disappeared throughout the course of his fight, do tie into his ability to survive those things. Nanami, on the other hand, was a perfect fit for him, and they animated it perfectly. I mean, you really got every ounce of that anger that is conveyed in the manga in this. And honestly, just watching a character who's so irritating get smashed through multiple things is always going to be awesome. On the flip side with that, we got him getting knocked out of the store, and then Nanami basically going off to go get the two Zenins that are here. The interesting thing being that in this version, they did change it to say that he's only going to get Zenin. In the original, I should clarify, he's going to get Maki's uncle. He's going to get Special Grade 1 Zenin. Because in his opinion, there's really only 3 people in Shibuya that can handle this situation now, and that is him, Special Grade 1 Zenin, and Kusakabe. All tied together, these characters will be important, but I think if you're familiar with this series at all by now, you know they're not the only ones that are going to be fighting. And of course, that just leaves us, really with the setup for Yuji going to fight Choso next week. And that has apparently been revealed that will be next week's entire English dub episode. And I'm looking forward to it. I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if I would look at the manga, I would peg that as a full half-an-hour episode. So that probably means we're going to get some expanded animation on the fight. It still should be good, though. That section is really good in the manga. They've been doing great with the adaptation so far. And Choso and Yuji's fight is one of the more revealing sections of the Shibuya incident. And that's to say a lot, because a lot of stuff happens here. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's pretty much everything in this episode. We got Toji retaking over his body, which was awesome. But you won't get on or anything around that content for a while at least. And there are some minor elements here or there that we've seen pop up, but they'll become more relevant in coming episodes. So why don't you let me know what you thought of this episode down in the comments, and we'll talk about this next time.